Peter Woods, defensive tackle, Clemson.
Yeah.
This is a mammoth of a human. Corey asked Kevin a question last week that is now a drop that I have that I just love, and I'm going to steal this question forever. Fred, do you like big men?
Love them. Can't get enough of them.
This is a big man.
Especially in the middle.
That's right. 6'3", 310 pounds.
Big dude.
That is a massive human. He's a young interior defender. He plays defensive tackle, and I think he could get stronger. That's the fun thing about this guy. Very powerful and explosive for his size. He's very coordinated with his hands and feet. He can slide across blockers and into different gaps. Very smart, good feel for finding a seam, even at his bigger frame, to slip through and fill run gaps. He's sneaky elusive for his size. Very good anticipation. Very sturdy. I would hope so for his frame. But he's got a sturdy base, great pad level, very consistent recovery. So he's not like the bigger defensive tackle that once he gets shoved out of the play, he's just kind of jogging behind the play.
By the way, real quick, I can't let this go on any further. I meant Apocalypse Now. Shout out. Shame on me. Shame on me for getting that wrong. Yeah, all the texters that texted in, Fred, you're an idiot. My apologies on that. It's Apocalypse Now that he was in as Captain Kuntz, not Full Metal Jacket. My mistake.
Kevin would be disappointed in you.
I blew it.
You blew it. That's going to be our new thing, isn't it?
Should be.
He's going to be our spirit animal for any time that we host a show.
Let's get him on the show.
Hey, just like back when nosebleeds were in nights.
What a show Friday, by the way.
Oh, yeah. And Reggie was producing the nosebleed seats years ago. They would do the Carmelo Anthony report.
Yeah.
Which is just, what did Carmelo Anthony do that night?
I'm here for it.
Maybe we need to do the Blew It report.
I think that's 1,000% what we should do.
I think that's going to be ours.
Report. Let's get him on the show, by the way.
I'm going to go ahead and
let's do it.
Go and write that down. But back to your big defensive tackle, Peter Woods, out of Clemson. More strengths that he has. He will embarrass blockers in the twist game. Very quick on his feet. Mentioned the good anticipation. He can tackle as a two-gapper. You can line him up in different spots. He will fight through initial contact at the point of attack a lot.
Yeah.
He's very consistent within that game. For a defensive tackle of his level of experience, played against really good competition, obviously, at Clemson, but just as a younger guy, he has a lot of intangibles for a defensive tackle that usually need refinement coming out of school. I think he's awesome. Weaknesses, he might play lighter than he looks sometimes. He will take chances in the run game.
Okay.
He will swing and miss at times because he thinks he sees something that he doesn't actually see. Short arms.
Like dead people?
That's right. He sees dead people. Short arms. Will Campbell. Let's bring back that conversation. If you care about arm length from bigger position players like this, you're not going to like him. They will prevent him from keeping blockers out of his frame sometimes. The shorter arm length will beat him at times. But again, the power and speed he plays with, I feel like at the NFL level, will help him a lot more than his lack of arm length will hurt him.
Okay.
I said this about Will Campbell, so take it with a grain of salt. I think the arm length thing will be just a topic of conversation at the Combine because it's something that actually gets measured and people have to talk about it.
And I think Will Campbell's going to be okay.
Yeah, I think he is too. It's just his rookie year, man. His move set, per se, he doesn't really have a primary move to open or set an edge. That's why he's always, I think in the NFL, he's exclusively going to play interior. But he doesn't really have like a move per se. He's just a big, powerful man. You know, he's a quick, powerful man.
Said for that.
Yeah, which is totally okay. Whenever you do have some more finesse defensive tackles on your roster that are going to win with their hands and maybe a spin or something like that, they've got like a chop move that they go for. This is totally fine. You pair him up with another solid defensive tackle, you've got a really, really good interior. In terms of where he places in the draft, he is a very highly touted prospect. I don't know if he would be available. It depends on the run of pass rushers if people get maybe too overzealous. But I could see him going in the teens. So he could be there in Dallas's pick range. The only question I have is Kenny Clark back on this team? How many pass rushers are you signing in free agency and whatnot? I feel like this is an area that could already be a strength for this team here in Dallas, but it could be a rich get richer situation where historically you haven't been great at scouting, evaluating, and adding defensive tackles. Kenny Clark, if he's not on this team, this pick makes a ton of sense at 20. Yeah. It makes a ton of sense if he's available at 20. But if you bring back Kenny Clark, which I expect, I don't think they traded for him for no reason. They've got to get a new deal structured for him since he has no guaranteed money left on his contract. If they bring him back, this pick doesn't really make too much sense for me.
Right.
But I don't mind adding a ton of pass rushers. I really don't, because if you could make that a superpower of yours, it covers up a lot of inefficiencies that you would have over the middle and on the back end. So I wouldn't hate it. This is a very fun player to watch. Defensive tackles in college, usually not that fun to watch. Some of his reps are just, you laugh because you're like, this dude's insane.
You know, I don't disagree. I don't know the D tackle is for all the positions that you could walk away shaking your head or scratching your head about as far as the Dallas Cowboys are concerned. Because you're right, there's no shortage of needs on this football team. I mean, you literally need them. But again, to your point, if you go out and you re-sign Kenny Clark, you still got Toy on there. And again, I mean, he's a 7th round draft pick, so let's kind of wait and see. But you got Solomon Thomas coming back, right? So you feel a little bit of depth. I mean, if there's any position, obviously you mentioned Quinnen Williams. So if there's a position on this football team that you have decent depth on the defensive on that defensive side of the ball, it is D tackle. I don't know. Where's he slated to go right now? Mid first round, you said?
Yeah.
I mean, here's the thing, right? If you somehow move back from 12 to 16 or 17, maybe, but I just feel like you've just got so many other huge needs that I would have some serious question marks. I mean, you need linebacker, you need safety, you need cornerback, and if you're going to tell me that you can't go get the kid from LSU, right, or something like that, if he's sitting there in the mid-teens, if you move up and decide you're going to get Caleb Downs, which is something I know that has been talked about, that Broadus and Wolchuk brought up about moving up for Caleb Downs. I don't know that he's going to last at 6, to be honest with you. I think Caleb Downs is going to go a lot higher than people think, just for the simple fact that this kid can literally do everything. So who knows? Again, I just, of all the things you need, D tackle is just not high on my list of, hey, even if he falls to you best player available, I would be a little concerned.
I'm there with you, and I feel like a lot of Cowboys fans would get almost like a sticker shock of seeing defensive tackle first round.
Yeah, exactly.
Just because of Mozzie Smith, which I understand. I understand, but I think it's unfair when you're talking about this player. But I'm with you where I think it's a little rich for my blood, even with your second first round pick, because I think some of the needs that you have, even I'd take an edge rusher before I took a defensive tackle first round with this team. Like you mentioned, I'm doing everything I can right now, me personally.
And then, hell, I forgot about Osa. I mean, look, you got Osa, if you bring back Kenny Clark, you got Quinnen Williams, Solomon Thomas, Jay Toya, Perrion Winfrey. Yeah. I mean, you've got I'm not going to insult anybody's intelligence here and say you've got an embarrassment of riches, because you don't have an embarrassment of riches literally at any position. But that's just, again, to your point, you've just got too many other needs pressing right now that I'm not messing with a D tackle. Maybe if some guy slips to you in the 5th or 6th round that you have a 2nd, 3rd round grade on, maybe. But even then, I'm saying, look, we got too many other issues right now.
How about something that might intrigue you a little bit more, especially if George Pickens were to get tagged and traded?
Yeah.
Denzel Boston.
I love this.
Out of Washington. Kid. This guy, he impressed me a lot more than I expected him to.
Yeah.
So 6'4", 210 pounds.
Yeah.
A big body receiver, 2-year starter at Washington with elite ball skills that should really surpass his athleticism or speed concerns. He is a true take the top off kind of receiver when you talk about high point catching, possession catching, just sure hands. If you want the almost unfair comparison, just to give you a play style, not projecting him to have the same career, but the play style, Puka Nacua.
Yeah.
Physical, will take the hits, he'll take his licks, he will come down with the football. He enters the draft with those same speed and separation concerns that Nacua had, but the competitive nature and the toughness, oh my goodness. He has good burst off the line, which I will say, early acceleration, and plays faster than his time speed. I'm warning you with this guy. Unless he just impresses us at the combine, do not be a slave to the 40 time, to the shuttle time. Do not be a slave to any of those, because he plays quicker than he does on a stopwatch or any laser-timed theatrics that you're going to see in Indy. Very fluid route running. We mentioned big body target who plays to his size.
Yeah.
He's not one of those guys that's 6'3", 6'4" for no reason. He uses every bit of that frame. He will lean on defenders and use his leverage with his frame. If you like numbers, he scored 20 touchdowns over the past two seasons.
Look, that two things jump out to me, right? And look, 40 time. I mean, I'm with you. I'm not. I could care less. And you know, I mean, he's going to run in the 4.5. So what? I'm okay with that. And we need to stop with this idea. Look, the 40 time is a tool in the toolbox. All right, because you know what, John Ross. Text me if you remember John Ross. Okay, and have that work out. All right.
Will.
Look, I watch Xavier Worthy play. Okay, good, not great. Good, not great when it comes to Xavier Worthy, all right? I mean, yeah, he's fast, but I'll tell you what, the kid can't run a route to save his life. Now, that's a whole other conversation another time, and he wants no part of contact. Denzel Boston, I would jump to see him in a Dallas Cowboy uniform in 20. If for some reason you decide that you are going to move off of George Pickens, all right, and we'll get to some George Pickens information or news later here in the show, give me Denzel Boston all day, every day. Number one, and this is something that you can't say enough about that I think is almost as important as anything he did in college, if not even a little bit more. His dad was a wide receiver in the National Football League. David Boston, also a big-bodied receiver. Now, injuries kind of took him out back in the day, but I'm telling you right now, at 6'4", 210 pounds, he's not going to be overwhelmed by the moment when he gets into the National Football League. And who better? There is something about when you have a father who played in the league or was a professional athlete, those guys just tend to perform a little bit different because they already have the psyche that you need or that you see a lot of rookies have issues with early on. We know he's got the physicals. We know he's got the traits. I'm telling you right now, if somehow, some way, Denzel Washington. He's got a great name. Let's give that too, okay? My man's name is Denzel, all right? So if Denzel Boston can become a Dallas Cowboy, man, you could do a lot worse. I'll tell you what, if he's sitting there at 20, which he very well could, and you decided that you wanted to move off of George Pickens for whatever reason, you could do a lot worse. You could do a lot worse.
A lot worse. And the fact that he's only on some people's boards like wide receiver 4 or 5,
hey,
that tells you that somebody's going to get incredible value. Now, the weaknesses. There are some. There are some. And I know Hagee is a big proponent of this topic of conversation, and we have to try to find some middle ground on, because I'm still torn on how I feel about this as a line of thinking. His production does dip when the competition level rose.
It does what?
His production level, not as high against better competition. It dips a little bit. It's player to player with me. Yeah. There's never a consistent, like, just because the production dips doesn't always mean that, okay, they're going to be a bust in the NFL. Or, against better defenses or Vic Fangio schemes or whatever you want to throw out, he's just absolutely going to disappear. It just shows that he's a growing player. And I think because of what I have seen in terms of the ball skills and whatnot, I'm not too worried about that, but it's something that you have to mention in this process.
Yeah.
Just because we have seen players fall off the face of the earth after getting drafted high, after not putting up numbers against competition. So history says I have to mention that. His press release, not great. If you line him up against a more physical corner in the NFL, we were talking about this a little bit last week. I think with Mekhi Lemon, might have been another receiver we were talking about. If I told him to go line up against Patrick Surtain on an intermediate route, like a 15 to 20 yard route, if Surtain jabs, he's probably losing that route. Just because his release is very linear.
Right.
Because his burst off the line is better than his actual speed. So a lot of the time, his press release is, I'm going to run past you. Not, I'm going to shift, I'm going to chop your hands away. Like, I'm not going to fight you. It's, I'm going to run past you.
Yeah.
So that's something that the NFL hopefully will teach him, needs to be worked on. We talked about it at length already. He lacks a true second gear, so he's not going to be your Tyreek Hill flying down the field or anything. If he catches something downfield, it's because he's jumping over somebody, or he's fighting with somebody, which that is exactly what we're talking about with George Pickens. This is a scenario, if Pickens gets traded, this is a perfect replacement that I think you could really grow on. His routes will lose a little bit of steam whenever he has to, really dig in and cut hard on route turns. But outside of that, I think his separation and his speed is a non-story. And I always like going to Lance Zierlein's write-up on NFL.com because he'll get a high-ranking scouting voice or something in the NFL to give a quote. And I think this is exactly it. An NFC scouting director told him, quote, I don't think the speed concerns are valid. Anyway, you don't have to be fast when you are as good as he is when guarded.
Something to be said for that.
There's something to be said for he's not going to blow you away with the 40 time, with the straight line speed or anything. Chances are he's probably just going to be more physically gifted than the person lining up in front of him. So I really like this because I see him going in the 20s. So if you were to pony up George Pickens and go get a second-round pick, let's just say, just to shut down argument's sake, if you got a second-round pick, you move on from George Pickens, his money is off the books, and you say, okay, well, one thing we talked about all offseason was how coaches kept on telling us, man, it was difficult to guard the combo of CD and George Pickens, the elusiveness, and then the 50-50 nature, which a 50-50 ball with George Pickens is really a 70-30 ball downfield. That combination of those two different skill sets was so hard to guard. If you want to try in the next year to 3 years to reproduce that same kind of threat, Denzel Boston is the perfect value to do just that in the 20s with your 20th pick. Heck, you could probably even trade back a few spots if you were able to pick up some extra mid-round picks. Say that 20 becomes 26 or something like that, he could still be there. He easily could, just because the talent at wide receiver in this draft.
Depends on what he does in the combine, right? You got to worry about that because you could always see what he does at his pro day.
Sure.
And look, the bugaboo could be, and you're going to hear plenty of this, in the two biggest games this past season against Oregon and against Ohio State, their two highest rated opponents this year. He had 7 catches for 51 yards. Okay, so those numbers aren't going to blow up anybody's skirt. Now, against Oregon, he did have their 2 touchdowns. All right, so he only had 4 catches, but 2 of those were touchdown catches. So, as you alluded to, something to be said for that. He did finish the season with 11 touchdowns. Outside of the games against Oregon and Ohio State, he had no fewer than 4 catches and or 50 yards in any one ball game. So the thing about this dude is he is a gamer, and there is definitely something to be said for that. So, again, and I go back to what I said about his dad, him having that lineage goes a long way. And I know one thing about NFL scouts and NFL front offices, that's a question that they ask a lot of these guys when they look at them and when they talk to them in their combine interviews is, what did you learn from your family? What other family members have you had that are professional athletes? Because that's a big thing that they look at as well. So I don't hate the Denzel Boston. I don't hate the Denzel Boston. Denzel Boston in Dallas. I mean, let's start the train.